I'm Missy Hollenback, and I'm with the Shrewsbury Farmers Market. And we have our first show today highlighting one of our vendors. We're here at Elzire's Acre in Princeton. We're with Terri and Chad Steiner, who are one of our very first vendors to send in their application. And if you don't know about them, they make goat milk soap, and it's absolutely fabulous. And we're going to learn a little bit today about the goats, how to make the soap, and a little bit more about Chad and Terri and their wonderful organic products. Hi, so we're inside where Chad and Terri make the soap, and you guys can't smell it. We don't have 4D yet, but it smells wonderful. And one of the things at the market, you can always smell your scents. And one of the things I love about it is they're not overpowering, and I don't get headaches from them. So can you tell us all about your soap?
All right, well, we use the milk from our goats, okay. And we feed them organic, which I think is important since it's in soap. And I use mostly organic ingredients. We don't use palm kernel, or soy. We've gotten away from that for various personal reasons. Okay. And yeah, we have 8 unscented recipes, but we also just use essential oils for everything else, just for the scent. And it's, you know, I'm always trying to accomplish something as I'm making my little creations here. These are all very different recipes. I don't have like a base recipe and then change a couple of things. Oh. For example, we'll have people say, oh, do you have lavender? And I'm like, yep, there's lavender, Bulgarian, you know, French, Bulgarian, French, but they're all different recipes. So.
Now, the other cool thing is that a lot of your scents come from customer requests. So how does that happen? You get somebody that says, oh, I want something to remind me of my grandmother, and she used, orange and, whatever, rosemary.
Well, for example, there is this wonderful woman, Joy, who's a massage therapist, and she'd, go through all the soaps, and we have a lot of soap.
How many soaps do you have?
Well, we probably bring, like 70 different kinds.
Wow.
Yeah, to a market, but we have well over 100 recipes. And the deal is I'm supposed to just fit everything on here, and if I come up with a new recipe, I have to retire something. Oh. And Chad's...
Is that Chad's rule?
Yeah, that's Chad's rule.
Because it doesn't always happen.
Because I'm out of control. And yeah, and I've now kind of... It first started with the unscented soaps. And I could say, well, they're unscented. You don't really want them with the essential oils, unscented. So that gave me a lot more room on it. Okay. So I could, but now we've overflowed into a basket on the table, and I just don't know which one to not. I tried to retire one, and then customers are like, where's everything's groovy? You just...
Oh, I love that one. Okay.
Yeah, see? So again, this is what happens. And so Joy wanted, she's like, I love the patchouli, and you either love or hate patchouli. Yep. But do you have any bitter orange? I use a massage oil that I make with bitter orange and patchouli, and I'm like, all right, I'll make that for you. And so we added ashwagandha to it, and just to make it another interesting, because I'm always trying to be the best nutrition you can, because your skin eats 60% of what you put on it.
Yep.
Things happen in my life, and I meet different people, and it just kind of evolves, and I have to make a soap to commemorate, like Tucker's Mountain for my granddogger, not daughter, dogger. Okay. That's to commemorate 7 years of hiking the mountain. So yeah, Tucker's Mountain.
Ooh.
Yeah,
very nice, and it's pretty color.
Yeah.
So your soap's very personal.
Oh yes.
And it's also personal to people.
Yes.
That love it.
Yes.
And that's not something people can get with the soap from like Procter & Gamble or one other company. I mean, I've tried calling consumer affairs at these places, and it's just not going to happen to find out what the ingredients are, the formulation. Whereas I know if I talk to Chad, Chad's at the Shrewsbury market, you do other markets that day. I can talk to Chad and I say, oh, I have whatever. And he said, well, some people like this for, that. So you really can recommend soaps for us. You're not medical professionals.
Nope.
We're not giving any medical advice, but just based on other customers use this and, give it a try and that kind of thing.
David, the guy who delivered our tiny house shop, the soap shop, whenever we get a delivery or something happens, of course we give soap. And yeah.
Wait, you tip in soap.
Huh?
You
Well,
tip
at
in soap?
We
restaurants
tip in
too.
soap.
Oh, okay.
At restaurants, wherever.
Restaurants too.
I've been known to leave it up the mountain on people's windshields. I have done.
fantastic.
Yeah, people
Oh,
are like,
okay.
"Oh, you're so generous." I'm like, there is not a generous bone in my body. Trust me.
I know
Yeah.
you're gonna like it.
I know, and you're gonna be hooked. But so David comes in, and I'm like, ask him. You know, he may not care. You know, but he was all into it, and I'm like, well, so what would you like? And he goes, well, my wife's a nurse. I'm like, Manuka Mystery. Every medical professional should be using Manuka Mystery. So you get to know, and there's reasons I made this soap, and it's just helpful. It's just because it doesn't have chemicals in it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's just natural. It's like when you eat an organic apple or an organic kale, it's going to be different than something that's heavily sprayed with pesticides.
And then also this shows that you care about your product and your customers.
Yes. And let me tell you, this is a labor of love. It's my hobby. It's his business. You probably can't see it, but there's a lot of soap here. We make a lot of soap. We sell a lot of soap. We're not getting rich.
No.
We're buying organic. We're selling it pretty much the prices of regular soap that people buy, handmade soap. Yeah, it's a labor of love. So you don't go to the markets just to sell soap.
Right.
You go to the markets because people need you, because they're suffering because of the chemicals they're putting on their skin, and it's just good stuff. It's not magic. It's not a prescription for anything. No, it's just natural ingredients. That's all. It's just not chemicals.
Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is that when you go to a farmer market, you're not just buying products. You're buying, not people, but you're buying, helping others with their farms.
Right.
And that's another important thing with the Shrewsbury Farmers Market. When we started it, one of the big things, and now we're a nonprofit, is that one of our goals is to help preserve family farms, open space, educate people about farmers and the lifestyle. And you're up here in Princeton. Mm-hmm. And Princeton's one of the North Worcester counties, and it's really interesting. You guys have been able to preserve a lot of farmland, and there are a lot of farms up here. But the reality is that, financially you don't have the factories or the big businesses that we might have in Shrewsbury or Worcester. So we in Shrewsbury and Westboro and Northborough, we need to support you because it's helping us in the long run. It's all one big picture. We're all connected.
Right.
So it's something that we need people to remember.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is, we didn't mention is the names of your soap. You said a lot of this is personal.
Right.
And some of these names are, they're pretty, self-explanatory, like Rest and Revive. Mm-hmm. So Chad, what's in here?
That one has a lot of ylang ylang, which folks love. Some people think it's a little bit too strong.
It's light. I think it's light, but
that's the one that Terri made for her aunt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my aunt, who what did she hit 70? She's in her 60s, late, and her husband went deaf. That's my uncle, my mother's brother. And she went back to college. She has grandkids. She runs marathons. She bodybuilds. She's an unbelievable woman and watches. Yeah. And so she needed a soap to rest, but then revive. Not rest and relax, because you got to get back up and So like Winnie's Lemon Lavender. This came from a woman named Winifred at the Canal District Farmers Market.
I just bought this one. Love it.
Yeah.
I'm a lavender person.
Pure Heart Castile. Go online and see why it's named. There's a whole story behind it right here. It's a pure olive oil soap with French lavender and purple Brazilian clay. That's it.
And it says a little prayer in every bar.
A little prayer in every bar. So every time there's some really good energy going out there, a little prayer going out there. Every time I make it, every time I cut it, every time I wrap it, every time it sells. So
and then you have some that kind of, might explain what they do, like Cool the Burn.
Cool the Burn. Hot days, man. Yeah. Aloe, French lavender, peppermint, mango shea and cocoa butters.
I think this is the one that when it's like we're at the Shrewsbury Market and it's really hot and I'm really sweaty and I see Chad, I just want to go home and take a shower. What would be the best soap to cool me down? And he'll whip out a couple, and say, and I sniff them and
Cool the Burn.
And he's usually right. So always right, I should say.
The one that I used this morning, because I was out in the barn quite a bit, peppermint silk right next to it.
That's what
Super cooling.
I washed Maddie with peppermint silk, the black goat out there.
Oh.
Yeah, I washed her with that because she was really hot. It was day before yesterday after the farmer's market. And yeah, so it cooled her right down. Yeah.
And then we have one called Bug Buffer.
Bug Buffer.
I just got this from my daughter who loves to swing at night. I mean, but on the swing set.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Clarify that.
So, so what is this one?
Well, it has lemon, eucalyptus, and rosemary, and it's just bugs really hate the scent of, all the essential oils bugs don't like, really, honestly, but especially the lemon eucalyptus, they really don't like that one. And I think for that, people they smell that and they think, oh, it's familiar for bugs.
Oh, yeah, it smells like a citronella candle.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, so you showed us your fridge. You can see the soap here. So can we peek in your fridge here?
Sure. It is a mess, but
Well,
it's, all our essential oils, there's a lot, and milk. There's some oils like the hemp seed oil has to be refrigerated. I was keeping it in the freezer, but I have to have frozen milk in the freezer. And these are all my resins for the Boswellia soaps that we make and the butters. So yeah, we freeze the milk and then make soap with it the next day.
Okay. So we're going to look a little in a minute behind your soap in the soap factory. I don't want to say factory, soap kitchen, and we'll see how you make it.
Sure.
Okay. So we're in your kitchen,
Right.
the soap kitchen. So tell us about what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. We hot process. That's the method we use.
What does that mean?
Well, there's hot process and cold process way to make soap. And then there's melt and pour, but that's not making soap from scratch. It's just buying soap and melting it down. So this is from scratch. The hot process is, with cold process, you melt the oils, blend your lye water mixture or lye milk mixture, put everything in there. A lot of people will wait, I'll wait till trace before I add this other stuff. But it's really a moot point because with cold process, the lye is active 24 to 48 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And it takes a while to cure, quite a while to cure. And as I said before, soaps are better if they cure longer anyway. But with hot process, I literally have these on, and there's another one over here because I do 7 at a time. I ran out of counter space.
Other 7. Okay.
Yeah. And so I keep these on keep warm, and we melt the oils down. So you have your base oils. I melt the oils down. I literally have these hanging above every single one. Yep. And I check off painstakingly. And this follows it through the whole and then goes into the folder. So the soap I make, it's all there. So anyway, you just keep it on keep warm. I add the milk lye mixture, and then you let it saponify. So where saponify is a chemical, it is a chemical reaction that the lye milk mixture has with the oils, and it's actually salt. It's like a salt. It changes it to a salt, but it's called soap.
Okay.
So it saponifies everything, and so the soap is done. It's good. I do a lye discount, which means I add less lye than oils, so you're guaranteed it's mild, and that could be the end of it. But then I cool the batter down, and that's when I add all my super fats, and that's all the babasu or sacha inchi or mango or shea or whatever. I add that and mix that all in and let that sit for a half hour, whatever. And then I cool it way down. Just before I put it in the molds is when I add the essential oils. So the reason I do that is because, yes, you have your base oil, recipe that gets saponified, and the lye is in contact with that. But I have some really, really nice oils. Not that they're all nice, but exotic oils. And the main thing is the essential oils. I don't want the lye to come in contact with the essential oils ever. So it's soap because it can degrade. Lye is very caustic. It can, it affects. So I don't want the lye to come in contact with all of that. So that's why we do that. Plus it's ready faster as far as curing wise, because as it's sitting there, it keeps warm for hours and hours and hours. And for example, for 7 batches, depending on the recipes, because they're all different, it takes me like 10 hours.
Wow.
From start to finish. Like I'll start at noon. I'll have everything printed up and up there. I'll start at noon. And by the time I'm walking up the stairs, and I begged him to help me clean up, it's like 10 o'clock.
Wow.
And
I'm
it's...
the chief crock-pot washer.
He's very good at the crock pot. Yeah. So that's the hot process method. And then it depends again on the recipe when I cut it. Like I made...
So wait a minute, we'll
Yeah.
back up here a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the label here that says silk, and this looks like a loaf pan. Looks kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
fudge or something. So, and
What
then
is
I
this?
see tubes.
Yeah, tubes. Well, I put little notes on here for me, like this is going to be square, because I only have 15 of these, and only enough for 6 batches of the round. So I got to keep in mind which I'm doing, and accordingly, because they're expensive, and I'm not going to buy any more, and it takes up a lot of room. So yeah, these are the recipes, and I literally keep it over there. They follow it along. I just check off everything. The square soaps are in the long cylindrical, baskets, and the round soaps are the round ones. We originally had only square, but as I started doing, we get some really expensive. Well, essential oils are expensive,
Yeah, they are.
and some of sea buckthorn fruit or cranberry seed oil. Oh my gosh, a little thing of organic cranberry seed oil is just unbelievable.
never even heard of
Yeah,
it.
so the more
Okay.
expensive oils, it's not a better soap, don't get me wrong. But what I was trying to do was keep them all the same prices.
Yep.
And you can get more out of a recipe with the round ones because they're smaller than the other. And so that's how that evolved, because I was trying to keep it all the same price. But then it just got to the point where I couldn't. And so the top shelfers, we call them, not a better soap again, but different.
The ingredients
The
are
ingredients are more
costly.
expensive. Yeah, so that's how that came about. And then I also have people, like for the men, that, like Chad, he uses it to shave with, he has his little boar breath. They get really, they're worse than women, honestly. But they have the little soap bowl, and they have to have a round soap to fit in that soap bowl. And like I had a gentleman who loved the By the Bay, and it was square, and he's like, I'd love to shave with it, but I can't put it in my soap bowl. I'm like, well, just cut it into squares or something. And he goes, you can't do that. It has a some way that they swirl it or whatever. I'm like, all right, I'll make it round for you. And that's kind of some people. And then some people won't buy the square bars.
To be honest, I like the round ones. They
See?
fit in my hand. I have small
Yeah,
hands.
right.
The squares are, a little
They're-
big. So
Okay, cut them in half or cut them into quarters and leave them on your windowsill, and it'll smell great and they'll last longer. Okay?
Okay.
Because like a little quarters, it's like this size, it'll be fine. Trust me,
Okay.
it'll be good. So, yeah, but that's why.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
I don't get it, but you obviously do.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, so they get molded and then
Okay, yeah, actually, today, no offense, guys, but you're in the middle of my process.
Okay.
I cover this with paper towels, this whole table with paper towels. This is my soap cutter, real basic. I just pop it out of the mold. I'll do it real quick. And this table serves multi-purposes. So all those people out there that think I can't do a tiny house, hey, I got a big operation going on here. I'll dump this out, and I just unmold it. These are all silicone molds. It's a Greener Life company that I get it from, and which we are a member of. And then you literally just put it here, and I line up one edge so I have the over here.
now, is that when you bought that? Is that an actual soap
cutter?
Okay.
Yes, soap
'Cause
cutter.
it looks like a cheese cutter. Okay.
Well, look,
Okay. Oh,
there's your.
very nice.
That's Ancient Forest.
Okay.
Big hit out there. So, and then what I do is, because of my son, I used to just have all these soap had no idea what it was. I mean, engineer, he totally called me on it. So I cut this in half and I make a little mousse out of it. You'll see all these, and I'd sell them I don't sell them actually, I give them away when people order online. We do these nuggets of washdom. So they get a little package of 7 mushy end cuts and pot scrapings, which is what those are. And then I bring them over here. So they start off over here, they get dried. There's just enough room here for 7 batches. And then I have to move it over here. I got all these professional soap trays because I didn't have enough room and I overflow real fast. And so I'm like, this is great. It's a professional soap tray. They don't dry fast enough on here. So I have to start here and then I'll move them in 2 days over to there and then the next. Okay, but that's how it goes, and then they sit for a while. Some of them are good in 2 weeks. Some of them, like I said, the pure Castile olive oil soaps, they sit a long time.
And then you wrap them?
Yes,
Label
and
them?
then this table is then a wrapping station. That's a biodegradable film.
Oh.
And so what happens is this all goes away, and this whole one side is full of paper towels. And you say, oh, you go through a lot of paper towels. I just fold them up and bring them upstairs and use them in the kitchen. So they get used to death, or you'll see them all spread out and dried and, bring them up there in the kitchen. But this is so paper towels over here. I line up all of these. I have our soap stamp, our metal soap stamp, which I then stamp, bam, bam, bam. So they're all here stamped, and then on the other side, this is where I wrap them. And it's just you roll it out, wrap them up, and I have the heat gun and the wand over here. So it was a system that I had purchased, and I'm really happy because they carry the biodegradable film, which, let me clue you, is twice as much. I ordered the wrong thing. I'm like, oh, wow, it was awesome. It was so cheap. And then I'm like, oh.
Not the right stuff.
Not the right stuff. It's not biodegradable. That's why. Yeah. So yeah. So that's kind of the process. And then once it's wrapped, I literally turn around here and put them up, update the inventory in my computer. So even though they're over here, these are still on low stock alerts. That's why I have the little blue tags to tell me what is drying. Yeah, and then it goes, the other side goes from there to, we fill up the 2 sets of displays.
And that's what we see when we're at the market.
At the market, right. But I mean, I have all my, all my ingredients here. It's like, and yes, coconut oil, extra virgin organic. This was 44 pounds. It's almost empty there, but yeah, these are certified organic. I have all the paperwork on this stuff.
So it was nice when Shrewsbury, we went to the bag fair.
Oh.
Chad was one of the first. We explained to our vendors that they were not going to be out of plastic bags. You never had plastic.
We know,
bags.
yeah.
Well,
But-
actually,
We did.
Oh, you did.
Oh, yes.
We quickly, and I'm gonna point to Terri on this one. She really wanted.
Can't hear you.
She really wanted to get away from the whole plastic thing.
Yeah.
So she's like, we have these organic soaps, we have biodegradable film wrapping soaps, and we're
Why?
giving them away in plastic bags.
What
it's
are we
beautiful.
thinking?
We have our logo on it, but then
And it's so nice, you see your beautiful white plastic bag with your black logo on it, right?
right.
Everybody sees it as they're walking around the market.
But then we decided to go to the
Right.
recycle bags, and they're recycled, 100% recycled paper. And we even got our nice black logo on it, which people love to actually use as wrapping paper.
Oh,
That's
really?
ours.
I love.
And the kids color the goat.
Oh, cute! Oh, cute! I never
Yeah,
thought about.
yeah.
I mean, I felt bad. Chad goes, "Oh, we made this new bag, but,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh
yep.
my gosh!" So I was excited actually. So you
It's-
guys turned something that a lot of people thought was a negative into something positive.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
I never thought about the coloring. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Ah.
And it's a water-based ink that it's on. Like, we have worm farms upstairs upstairs because I like the worm castings for.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, and so we have a worm farm, and that's compostable.
Yes.
So another plus. Awesome. So we're trying to get our grain bags. Sorry that they're plastic, but Bonnie makes them into shopping bags, and
well, it's reducing and reusing.
We try.
For recycling, and you guys are doing
Yeah.
a great job with all that.
yeah.
there. Okay, so we're outside, and the goats actually get to go out and run around. So we call them free-range goats or whatever.
Yeah, they
have
come
a good
and go.
life.
Yeah, they come and go as they want, but they're divas. It's like, okay, it's too sunny, no, go in the barn. It's cooler in the barn. Or I think it's misty out, go in the barn. They, so you'll see them out here on occasion. It's not that we're keeping them in there. They can do what they want. So I'm not gonna make them stay out or, make them stay in there.
In all fairness, you do give them, the peppermint, soap baths and,
Don't tell anybody I do that. Because then when they want a discount on the peppermint silk because I'm washing my goat with but hey, it comes out of her. So
it comes out of her. She deserves it.
She deserves
the
it.
best.
That's right.
So the other thing is I talked about people that they can buy soaps at the markets.
Right.
You have a number of markets that you do. They're on your website, which is
GetGoatSoap.com. Yeah.
easy to remember.
Yep.
The other thing is, so you can order it online. You can go to the farmers markets, and then you have a new adventure that'll be starting very, very soon. And
As soon as I get, we decided to. I've always wanted a tiny house, for the end of, when I retire, whatever. But we originally had a table out there to sell soap, but I would forget it out at night and it would get, all wet from the dew, or it would start raining, or I'd be out and about and suddenly, I lost so much soap doing that. So Chad's like, well, why don't we just get a little shed? And I thought, well, I eventually want a tiny house. What if we get a shell, tiny house shell, and just use it as a soap shop? And I have aspirations of actually being able to bring this to events, the bigger events.
Yep.
Of course, we have to buy a truck to do that.
Okay.
So that's probably not going to happen for a while. But at least it gives people the option to come here, and they could buy online and pick up here, or they could come here, pay cash or credit card. They could do credit card if they just go on getgoatsoap.com and do a pickup. But the thing is that so I can make soap and not be interrupted, because if you take, it's usually 2 batches that get ruined. If you take 88 bars of soap, because that's how much 2 batches is,
Wow.
times
That's a lot.
$7 or $8 a bar.
That's a lot of money.
That happens a couple of times, and you can only make so much kitchen soap, and with Jasmine Absolute in it, and you know what I mean? So this was a way to go about it, and it's just a shell. It's just a trailer.
But it's cute. The other thing I like about you guys is you talk about the organic and the quality of care you use. We see the farm. Chad comes from a business background, so one of the things I really like is you guys are very up to date with technology and things like that. So
That would be him.
You can take credit cards, and I think you keep track of what soaps people buy, and things like that.
Yeah,
so,
for inventory.
So that's another nice touch. I mean, you get, the farmer, but yet you get the technology that we all have come used.
Well, he's the brains of the whole thing. He does the
That's what I tell everybody. I tell everybody you're
he
the
really
brains, I'm
is.
just a figurehead.
And because for me, this is just a hobby. If I had to look at this, I can't do this emotionally as a business. He takes over all the time. He's the strong one. He's the business minded. He's the one. I just want to make soap. That's all. He does a better job selling it than I do. It's his thing. I just want to make soap, and I like the creative process. He is very technical, though he is creative too. He's an artist also. But if it weren't for him, there would be this is his business. It's my hobby. And if it were a business, I wouldn't do it. So, labor of love.
And I want to thank you so much, because it kind of, I think, sums up what we see at the market.
Yep.
We love your product and the professionalism that you give to it and the quality of the products.
Thank
so
you.
I want to thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for being our very first guest and for being our very first vendor at the Shrewsbury Farmer Market when we first opened 5 years ago.